Ready, Evan?
Ready.
Oh God.
Rolling.
So welcome to 2Techies. We're now doing our Miami edition. We finally made it back home from Chicago. So if you guys have seen the Chicago footage, we appreciate your support. I'm here today with Maxeme, one of my favorite people in the world. So if you guys know about 2Techies, it's two technical people having non-technical conversations. So it's a little bit more relaxed. Maxeme wanted to join me for coffee and beer. So she thought it was just going to be us, but obviously we're on camera. So this is us having coffee and beer together. So this no difference. It's just about 13 cameras. It's just us right now.
With other people watching.
Nobody else is here. They're watching from the outside on the glass. So Maxeme, when did you fall in love with tech?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm at an age where I'm still a millennial, but I'm like kind of on the older side. So tech was something that kind of came about probably in early middle school, where, you know, computers and like actually having one in my home, and then just kind of having tech kind of come into your life often and very quickly. And I kind of vacillate between being an early adopter and then kind of like that maven and then being a connector. Like sometimes I like adopt tech really early,
right,
and then sometimes I wait for everyone else to kind of
catch on
or get the bugs out, and then I'm like, okay, like iOS versions. I'm like, you guys figure that out, and then I'll
beta tester when it comes.
No, not for Apple. No offense to them. But for some other things, I'm kind of like I'm trying to think. Like I was like one of the first people to have a Palm Pilot.
Oh, I remember the Palm.
Yeah, so
old school.
Yeah.
Did you have the Motorola two-way pager? You never had one of those?
No. I mean, I did have a beeper. I'm from Miami,
right,
obviously, but I don't think I had the two-way pager.
I had the Motorola two-way pager when it was just me and Dante and four of the
Remember?
So it was the same five people texting each other.
Right. But what was that? Like T-Mobile or something had like your fave five or something at that time. So there were really only five people you were talking to anyway. But remember the Razor or the thin Razor or something?
But see, before Razor, you got on Nextel, the Chirp. It was all about being able to chirp everybody.
The chirp. I do miss the chirp. I mean, it was kind of annoying.
It was, but it was kind of great too.
It was kind of cool.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Got me out of a lot of trouble having that chirp. She coming. Okay. So
you know, we use it for different things.
Right. It worked though.
Yeah.
With that, you said something about school, and
yeah,
a lot of people, of course, know a lot about you with Teach for America and the things that you've been a part of. But you have a new venture.
Yeah.
And only have about 5 minutes to talk about serious stuff before it goes all the way left.
Okay.
So won't you tell us about your venture real quick so everybody at least knows, and also you can update me because this was supposed to be part of our conversation.
I know. I was like, Michael, let's catch up. I haven't seen you in a long time. He's like, great, we're gonna do it on camera.
So now you can tell me about the venture.
No problem. Cool. So I joined Caribou. We are an ed tech company that does education apps, and so our first app is storybooks. So we help parents and extended family read bedtime stories to kids when they're far away. So think FaceTime meets Kindle. So you have the video call and the book all on a shared screen, and your family can interact with you because they can see you and you can see them, and you can draw, you can read books, you can play games. It takes like a 5-minute usual check-in call that most parents have when they're traveling to a 30-minute really engaging call with your kid, an educational experience, an opportunity to just kind of make sure that they're reading every night. I mean, the research shows that if a child reads at least 15 minutes a night or gets read to at least 15 minutes in a night, like the impact on their literacy is incredible. And we know that a lot of kids, especially in low-income communities, don't get that. And they don't have books in their home, or they don't have a parent who can read to them. So this actually, especially in the communities that I've worked in, is really incredible because it opens up a whole group of people to really make sure that child is getting that literacy component every day.
So this is always about beer and coffee and brew. So we're going to have a cheers to that.
Nice!
I would like to congratulate you because I know you went off to D.C.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. I froze my little tush off and then I'm back.
How do you feel about that? You're back. Obama's leaving.
Okay, we're not going to talk about that.
Okay. We'll move on.
Too soon on that one.
So, since we're getting into that, what is your favorite craft beer or your favorite cocktail? One or the other.
Okay. I have to say, I'm not a big beer drinker, but I've seen a new one that's called Miami Vice. And it's like, it's got like Art Deco, kind of like Miami Vice colors, and it
might probably either be MIA, yeah.
Yeah, it's like hot pink, and I'm just like, it's like amazing. Like, it just brings back such great memories of like growing up in Miami and like everything being hot pink and just putting Miami on everything. Like, I feel like Miami is like such a fun name for a city, and it's like so cool. And like, you just put Miami on anything. Like,
it works.
It works. I think you could sell the things out of it.
Since you said Miami Vice,
yeah.
If your life, at this very moment of what you're going through, everything you can imagine that you're dealing with, if your life was either a movie or a TV series, what would it be?
That's a stumper.
Don't worry, you can never edit this and it'll always be immortal to your life. But go ahead, just tell us.
A TV series. Okay, wait a second.
It can be a TV series, either a movie or a TV series.
Let's go with Quantico.
Quantico. That's deep.
So the only reason I say that is because I love Quantico.
Okay.
Well, I really loved season 1. I haven't seen season 2, so I can't really speak to season 2.
Netflix.
But you'd think. But season 1 like had such strong female characters. It like passed the Bechdel test on every episode. And it was just women who were like, I'm here to do something. I'm here to accomplish stuff. I don't have time for everyone else's craziness. And I believe in where I'm going. I have an idea. I think I'm right. And like, I don't care that everyone else thinks I'm wrong, but like, I'm just going to keep charging ahead. That's how I kind of feel in a startup. It's like, you kind of have to just really believe in your idea, believe in yourself, believe in your team, believe in what you can accomplish. Take advice from the right people, but then just keep charging ahead.
So what do you see some of your current struggles right now you are that rarity. You're Hispanic, you're a female, you're in tech. So that means you got to go through fundraising. You got to go through proving yourself, even though you're overly qualified for everything you're doing. Sounds very familiar to a situation we just went through. But with all aspects, what do you see some of your biggest struggles being right now?
So it's interesting. I think had I joined a tech company like 5 years ago, I think being a Latina, being a woman would have been a bigger hindrance, just because you weren't seeing a lot of those people in tech and people weren't looking for us, right? But I think in the past couple of years, I've seen a real effort to bring more women into tech, to bring more Latinas, minorities into tech.
Correct.
So it's the issue is now there's like a lot of us, and like everyone is like focused on it, I guess. So it provides a lot of opportunities, but I think I'm competing against a lot more people now than I was before.
So if you look past the competition, you look at where you're at, like, what's the best way to overcome some of these struggles? Like, I know you did your year in DC, now you're back in Miami. You know, you hear the words diversity and inclusion. We hear those words. What do you see, or what do you think we really need to improve upon to make those words mean what we want them to mean?
I totally agree. I think one thing I've seen that hasn't changed is whenever I look at like startup websites and I look at the team, the executive team is not diverse yet, right? Like there's women, but they're always in marketing. They're always in like, you know, especially in education, they're always like the teacher liaison or like the person that, you know, I don't know, plans events. And I'm like, that's great. You got women on your team.
We were talking about that, like all these large tech companies, your chief diversity officer are like these pretty black girls. And I'm like, but she still has no power. She can't hire anybody. She can't really change anything. But they feel they conquer some by having a black female in a diversity spot, and I'm like, that really doesn't do anything.
Right. And usually that person is there to like just try and source more like
Right.
resumes, right?
So
And I
not
think the
really
companies that are doing it right, and I don't have like any examples off the top of my head, but I've heard of companies who literally every decision that is made, that chief diversity officer is there.
Has to be involved.
Right.
That
Sales.
makes sense, right.
Right. Like sales, you have to be thinking about this. It's not just an HR thing. I think it's literally who are you serving? Who are your customers? Who are you as a company? What do you stand for? What's the culture of your company? What are your goals? And who are your people? And how do you treat them? And what do you bring to them?
So the world is yours, as we know, the famous blimp that's in Scarface. So the world is yours, and you have one mentor, one person that will invest in you, give you everything you could spend all your time with. Who is that person?
Wow, you're just like really, you're just throwing me little softballs. I love it. I appreciate that. That is a good question.
I mean, they're coming with money, totally accessible to them. They're answering every call. They're answering every message. Who is Maxeme talking to?
Well, okay, I'm going to tell you why I'm like pausing and like really having to think about this.
Be honest, go ahead.
Because
it's just us. Remember, there's nobody else here. It's just us. I'm drinking on camera.
It's super intimate and private. Yeah.
It's just us.
No, and I'll tell, like, my thought process always, like, when I hear that, right, is like, I'm still socialized to think of white men as mentors. And also to immediately the first name or person that I think of is probably white male, right? Like, I'm like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg would be a great, like, I would love to have him, like, tell me, you know, how to, like, you know, rule the world. But, so that's why I never answer first, because I'm like, the first person I always think about is, like, someone that's,
almost
like, more
a
top of
trained
mind.
answer, even though it's not what you, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So then I have to stop myself, which I think more people need to do. And this is why, like, I think about diversifying panels and diversifying teams, because that is our first notion, right? Like, this is why panels are always male and Caucasian male, right? Even if they're Hispanic,
45,
they're Caucasian
55
and
plus,
males.
right?
Right. And it's because what happens is
Oh, you can cuss, by the way. It's just,
Oh, I was like, is it that type of show? Hey, I run an
Say whatever.
education app.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
They might
let's
see this
keep
one
it.
day. Got it.
So like, using you as an example, and I know you do a lot of work to diversify your panels, but let's say that you want to put a panel together, right? A lot of people go to their network.
Yeah.
And so if you are Caucasian, if you are male, a lot of times that's what your network looks like. So you want to put together a panel on the shared economy. You find a bunch of dudes who you happen to know, and you're like, oh man, you're like working at Uber, like you should come, right? And then you're like, you put the panel together and you're like, oh man, we forgot like women. So then you go and you like do a little search and you find someone and you're like, oh, can you come to the panel? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm like speaking at 17 other events because everyone wants a woman on their panel, and so I'm like a little oversubscribed. And then they're like, oh, well, I asked a woman.
Right.
We tried.
Doing their job.
I tried, right?
I got you.
And so that's like the thought process that I go through, and the thought process I want other people to go through is like, keep pushing yourself to really think harder before you answer that question, like, and get that, like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg off the top of your head.
So in case you didn't catch it, I mean, she just dropped some gems. That wasn't even a question, by the way. Those are just some gems. I mean, but that was great. That was great of you. But you still haven't.
I still haven't answered the question.
Now that we know, it could have been Mark Zuckerberg, but it's not him.
But then I thought about him because I like.
It could be him. It's still okay for it to be him.
I mean, he's lovely. He can be an advisor, but I just
secondary.
Yeah, because he's very conscious of bringing internet to the world, right? Like, he recognizes that that's now, like, there's air, shelter, clothing, and like internet. And he's thinking very big. He's also a futurist. I love futurists. Like, I love people who kind of look into the future and say, like, this is where we're going, and like, we should be building for that. I'm blown away with sometimes people's visions for like what we can achieve and how close they get there.
The people that dream in color, that make them dreams come true.
Yeah. Or like again, here's a white male, Wayne Gretzky's like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Like, so,
can't be fearful in this industry.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people fail before they had any kind of success.
Right, because I mean it's scary, right? And especially, so I am blessed by having an incredible network and a lot of support, and I'm back home in Miami. But there's a lot of people who are building startups in communities that they don't know. They're building startups without a huge network, and it's scary. You don't have the resources.
Now that you're back in Miami, you have Mark Zuckerberg as
Damn
your
it!
mentor.
We need a new person.
You will figure it out. But what's the legacy? So there's a digital placard. Maybe you just moved on. Maybe you've retired. We don't want to say you died. But, so you've retired.
At some point, I will die.
Right. But you've retired.
Yeah.
What's the legacy of Maxeme? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh, that's an easy one. So the way that we educate our children today was started in like 1800s Prussia. Okay, and it was literally to control people. It was, if we kind of like mass educate everybody, then everyone kind of knows the same thing and we can control them. And somehow the United States was like,
sounds
that's
like media. But
so like somehow the United States was like, that's a great idea. Like, let's bring that over here, right? And over 150 years of that, we like just haven't really thought to ourselves like, oh, is that a good idea? Does that still work? And I don't blame people for like not questioning that, because again, the Moore's law of exponential like growth in technology, like no one could have ever known that we would move so quickly on the technology side and be able to do things that we only thought, could maybe be possible in the
but
Jetsons
we're in
age.
unforeseen territory. It's time to change. We have to adapt.
Right. But people are still caught in an old school, like, this is how we always do it, right? And so if there was any legacy that I would want on my tombstone or in the Miami Herald, like Maxeme retires and this is what she did, would be to break the notion that we have to batch process our kids, and that's how we educate them. That we take their age, and that's why we put them in a certain group of students, and that we throw information down their throats, and we lecture at them, and we stand in front of a classroom of 30 children, and we ask everyone to be quiet. Like that, all of those things are just wrong. They're just wrong. They're outdated. They don't produce innovation. They don't produce productivity. They don't produce learners who love the idea of learning. Right?
Seems like you have more of a focus on adaptive learning, which needs to be the direction we're going, because everybody's not the same. Everybody's not in the same position.
Exactly.
So I would definitely be bringing my children to you for you to tutor them and make that happen. That's just gonna have to work out. So
I love it.
A couple more questions.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna let you get back to work because I know you're working hard on your project. It's going to have to be, if you had to pick a song or an album to describe your life right now.
Oh, again.
What would that song or album be?
So I'm kind of like loving Lemonade, but like that's not my life right now.
But it could be the empowerment of an aspect of Lemonade that comes from it.
Oh, yes. Like
because
taking
you know what?
back to stuff.
I never reveal this really on camera, but quickly, when you think honestly about what you say to that question, it says more than you may realize. So when you go home tonight, you'll start realizing why you thought Lemonade, even if it's not because you got the Becky with the good hair situation going on.
Right.
There's going to be something within that situation of why you picked it and why you chose that. So it'll work out. So we have a traditional format with digital graphs. All of our meetings, we close out with a final word. After you say this word, I won't be responding or saying anything else. But by choice, if you want to, would you like to let the good people know where they can find you at on social media? Would you?
Yes.
Even though it's just us talking, so you might want to tell them,
Yeah, you can follow me at Maxeme. That's my first name, Maxeme. And you can follow us also at Caribou, Caribu, and that's the company. That's Twitter. Facebook, same Maxeme, and actually I'm hidden on Facebook.
That's smart.
But Facebook/Caribou. Yeah, and we're gonna get into Instagram. We are. I feel like I'll be a Hita where I'm like, Instagram. It's like Snapchat's like 6 years away. Like I can't. I really don't understand Snapchat. Like I know, like I shouldn't be admitting this on on a video, but like, what in the like? Why?
I don't do it.
I don't know.
I don't do it.
Why?
Maybe it's because I'm insecure and I don't feel I'm that popular
No.
that people really want 30 seconds of my life. It's just not that much about me.
I just like I'm like I worry that I'm like, am I getting old? Is that why Snapchat?
Especially the
doesn't make
Snapchat
sense?
of
But,
like food and stuff. Like, I ain't need to see that. Like,
yeah, and then like you title it, like that's weird. That's weird. Like one thing is to like take a picture of your food and like be like, oh look, I found this great dish in this like cafe in Paris. I'm like, that's cool, that's helpful to me, right? But like, you know, like Sunday breakfast, I'm like, and then like a picture of like your balcony, and I'm like, like.
Oh, we got the same.
Like,
people.
I don't have time to watch your stories. And I don't have to. I actually live a really cool life. I don't have time to make a story for you.
If it's that fun, you wouldn't have time to record.
Thank you. And I wouldn't be by myself in those videos. Like, there's just, like, I'm like, you kind of look lonely.
Kind of lonely. Yeah, that's why they got to document it. Okay, so.
But on that note,
with our tradition, please
okay.
leave us with your final word. One word. That's it. Not a statement, not a phrase. One word.
Miami.
Thank you very much.